despite what the song says, we three kings of, these are not three kings. They're not kings. They're magi. They're wise men. They also were not stargazers who dabbled in fortune telling. They were not some wanderers on a spiritual road trip who just happened to be wandering by and saw some bright light in the sky, and somehow nobody else saw it, but they did. They're not just some wanderers. No, who the Magi were, let me tell you, just historically speaking, who these men were. These were members of the highest ranking priestly and scholarly class in the Persian Empire. They were the intellectual elite of the ancient world. They were trained from childhood in astronomy, mathematics, sacred literature, dream interpretation, and statecraft. Statecraft, meaning they also went to interact with kings. These people would travel, these magi would go as ambassadors of their king to represent their country to other places. These magi were not just some people somewhere who looked at the stars every once in a while and told fortunes. That's not who they were. These were high-ranking men in the Persian Empire. They were highly respected. They were extremely valuable. In many ways, they weren't just wise. They were some of the most, if not the most, influential men in their entire culture. In fact, this is gonna blow some of you away. It blew me away when I found this out. In the Persian and Parthian culture, the Magi, here's a title. Here's one of the titles that they had. Here's one of the names that they had for them. They were known as Kingmakers. Soak that in for a second. The Magi were known as Kingmakers. Here's why. Because they were so trusted, so respected, so revered as spiritual authority, as knowledge authority, that if someone aspired to lead a country, they needed to first get the approval of the Magi. They needed to be endorsed by these people, or the people they were leading would not follow them. The Magi had so much power, so much influence, so much reverence from people. They were respected to such a degree that they were called kingmakers. No king ascended to the throne without their endorsement. Their presence carried weight. Their words carried authority. Kings listened when the Magi spoke. So when Matthew tells us Magi came from the east and arrived in Jerusalem, he's not describing a tiny group of travelers. He's describing a diplomatic delegation, a royal entourage. He is describing a group of men who represented their empire, who represented their king, and carried the weight of their king behind them.